Hey guys, good morning. This is Shawn here from Voices from the Dirt Road. I'm getting tangled up already this morning. I just want to say good morning. Glad to see you. We got a great show for you today. We got a guest that's going to talk to us about his farm, what he's doing, selling meat. But before we jump into all of that, let me just kind of give you a kind of an idea of what's kind of been going on. So again, if you don't, thank you. There's my coffee cup. It says ranch hard, be happy. You can't beat it. And that's what we're going to continue to do. I know our farmers out there are working extremely hard. And this show is about making sure that we're getting up-to-date information out to our farmers so that when they get some time to get out of the field, whenever they want to, they can watch it live, they can watch it on YouTube, they can watch it wherever they want to watch it. They can have the most update information in less than 30 to 40 minutes. So with that, let me give you an update of what's currently going on my farm. You know that my wife and I, we started a cow-calf operation probably about 3 years ago now. We're still growing. This past week, we're in the middle of our calving season, so that's very exciting. And this week we just had another calf. I'm fully expecting about another 10 or 12 more this week. Matter of fact, as soon as I finish this show, I'm actually walking outside to check because the sun will actually be up. So we had this little male bull calf. His mother is a cross between a Charolais and a Red Angus, and the calf is a Charolais like she is. I mean a Red Angus and Charolais, and the father is a registered Charolais bull from up there in Red Hill. So beautiful little calf. He's up and running around. Life is good. But that was actually about 3 or 4 days ago. And like I said, we're fully expecting a lot more calves to hit the ground here before this month is out. We'll be completely done with our calving season. I know many of the farmers, but I said for our friends that are inside the city that watch this program, is many times the farmers love to try to have all their calves in a window. Some of them like to have that window about 90 days. I'm trying to get my window down to 60. You know, my herd is not the biggest herd. My goal is to have 20 mamas, and at the same time, when we have the 20 mamas, we'll end up having 20 calves. So it'll be the herd will be as 40. But I want to try to get all of those calves hitting the ground in about a period of 60 days so that I can sell them or whatever path we're going to take when they get up to about 600, 700 pounds to make some good decisions. Those decisions could very well be farm to table, selling to private treaty to other farms, or just selling at the sale barn. So we're going to get that figured out. But I just want to let you know things are moving in the right direction. Every day on the farm is not a holiday, but I will tell you I'm proud of what we're doing, because I think most of y'all guys know we got out, my wife and I did 40 years in the military. My wife with me there every step of the way. And now we're moving on to our next best life called being cattle producers. So with that, we also starting next week, starting next week, soon as this rain come through here, I think we're supposed to get rain tonight, Friday night and Saturday. Soon as this rain come through here, Sunday afternoon late, we're going to start putting up cross fencing. So we're starting some of those regenerative agriculture practices. We already rotate our cattle, but we're going to start putting in cross fencing so we can increase more pastures. So we will go from having 3 pastures to 6 or 7 or 9 pastures. But we will start doing that today. So if you live right here in Polk County with me, give me about 2 hours and you'll see me at Tractor Supply buying some gates this morning. So that's what we're doing. We're not just talking about ranching or farming or producing cattle. We're actually doing it. So yesterday, great organization out of Alabama delivered me some 6/8 poles. That means the pole itself is 6 inches wide and 8 feet long. So thank you to those guys. They really helped me out. They delivered, and the poles are select. They're extremely straight. So that's just outstanding. So that's enough that's going on my farm. let's refocus ourselves to what this show is all about. We try to stay focused on 3 or 4 things when it comes to agriculture. One, row crop. We talk about that a lot, and as you know, right now soybeans are still in the news, and we'll talk more about this on the back end. Forestry. I do want to get back and start talking a lot more about forestry because I'm concerned that with all the paper mills shutting down and other things, how is this affecting small town America? I think many of y'all guys know I'm originally from Blakely, Georgia, a little small town in Southwest Georgia, Early County. Paper mill closed down, and I am truly concerned. How is that affecting all the citizens down there, and actually our Early County Bobcats, our school system, because that was the major employee in that town. And then we also talk a lot about livestock, as you know, that's my lane. And today we have a guest that's going to be talking about his livestock operation, and I look forward to that. And then the last piece here is everything that we talk about is wrapped back into the USDA and what Secretary Rollins and her team is doing to try to help and support the farmers. You know, sometimes it moves smoothly, sometimes some hiccups, but what I try to do is keep our farmers up to date with what's really going on, because there's a lot of moving parts. And if you like me, you're extremely busy, and sometimes when you're out in the pastures or out in the field, you miss some of the things. So the key thing I would say is put the USDA, FSA, NRCS, put that office in your phone, make a personal relationship with them, and either text them or call them directly and say, hey, did I miss anything? Because I would hate for you to miss a deadline, and that causes you to miss out on an opportunity. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the show. And then lastly, as y'all guys know, the big beautiful bill did pass some small portions of the farmers farm bill. However, the farm bill as a whole has not been passed, so there's a lot of gaps in it. So we talk about the farm bill. We want to get the farm bill passed. We want to do anything that we can to get the farm bill passed, because right now, those poles, those wooden poles that I showed you, if you could throw those wooden poles back up just when I make this point, those wooden poles that I just purchased yesterday, if something would happen to those wooden poles when it comes to a natural disaster, those wooden poles, the farm bill is based off 2018. I want to make sure everybody understand that, especially our brothers and sisters that watch me from the city. The farm bill is based off 2018. However, in 2026, those poles cost a lot more than they did back in 2018. So if I would have a tornado or something come through here and rip all those poles out the ground, and when the government says they're going to reimburse me and help me get back on my feet, the reality of it is the farm bill's cost based on inflation is way too low. So I would struggle to get back on my feet and get this farm back up and running. So that's why you hear me always talking about the farm bill, is because everything is in it is still way too low to meet the needs of the farmers on their worst day. So we got to continue to drive this point home and kind of go from there. So with that, we got some people watching us this morning. I know we still coming out of the new year. People still getting back on their feet. Some people just going back to work. Others, the kids are just getting back in school. A lot of things are going on in the world of agriculture. So let's jump right into our very first. I left one thing out. I want to talk real quickly because the Secretary of Agriculture just last week, somewhere during the holidays, they put out that they were going to pay our farmers to help them get back on their feet when it comes to commodities. So can we go to the USDA website? The USDA websites, and I know my team is going to put that website up, but the USDA website, I want to make sure that the farmers have it so you can go look for yourself. But I just want to highlight one or two of the top items that we produce here in Georgia, just to kind of give you an idea. The first one is corn. As you can see there, corn is going to pay out at $44.36 per acre. And cotton is going to be $117.35 per acre. Peanuts is going to be $55.65 per acre, and soybeans is going to be 30.88 cents per acre. That right there is what, if you went in a couple of weeks ago, like we talked about, if you went in and registered your farm, and if you get approved, then you should be receiving that money. My understanding, we got to get a better understanding of this, but my understanding, I've seen it on the news. I can't find it on the USDA website, but my understanding, what I've seen on the news and read in the news, is it says that each farm, each entity of the farm, that's a key piece, is only going to receive $155K per farm. That's going to be the max. I'm not 100% sure on that. We will follow up on that for you next week. But the other piece that I want to bring to your attention is it's been reporting that in February 28th, that is when you're supposed to receive your payment. However, if you look right here, and these things that I'm talking about will be in the recording so you can see it easily. You don't have to go searching for yourself. But if you look right there in the piece that we guys got it highlighted for you, that right now USDA is still trying to figure out exactly when they're going to pay you or not. So my advice to all our farmers out there is, like I said earlier, stay in close contact with the FSA office to make sure that yes, you have turned your stuff in, but then two, is the payments coming? And then the unfortunate piece, and I don't have a crystal ball here in my office, but the unfortunate piece, it looks like the government potentially may shut down again on January 30th. And we all lived through that last time. I'm not 100% sure if the government would actually shut down on the 30th of January. What effect would that have on us when it comes to February and trying to get the payment? So more to come on that. I believe that as the weeks go on, we'll start getting more information from Secretary Rollins and her team, and we kind of go from there. So with that, let's jump into our very first video and see what Secretary Rollins had to say on Fox News.
What we have to do better at, and what we're working on also, is those underserved communities that don't have access to a Whole Foods or
Michelle Obama called them food deserts. I kind of used to poke fun of her for that.
Listen,
maybe is she right?
Yeah, in fact, there's part of that. That's correct. But here's how we fix it.
We take it all back. She's right.
Listen.
That was a very strange moment there on Fox News. Is that we remember Michelle Obama was saying about food deserts. We still have food deserts today. That is a fact. I think when Mrs. Obama said that, it's probably 10 years ago now. I don't even remember. But what I will say is we got to get it fixed. We got too many people here in America that doesn't have access to fresh food. I'm glad to see the secretary is trying to address it, but we'll see what will they actually do other than just talk about it. So we'll kind of go from there. Let's move on, and we'll let the next video go, and then I'll talk a little bit more on the back end about that one, because I want to make
this crisis is unacceptable. It prevents Americans from living healthy and happy lives. And for decades under both Republicans and Democrats, federal incentives have promoted low quality, highly processed foods and pharmaceutical interventions instead of prevention. As a result, nutrient-dense whole foods grown by America's farmers and ranchers have been increasingly displaced. The Trump administration is acutely aware of this danger, and today this announcement is making a major step in doing something about it. Thankfully, the solution is simple and should be non-controversial, eat real food. This is the main message of the new Dietary Guidelines for Americans 2025 to 2030, which encourage households and schools to prioritize whole, nutrient-dense foods. That means more protein, more dairy, more healthy fats, more whole grains, more fruits and vegetables, whether they are fresh, frozen, canned, or dried. We are finally putting real food back at the center of the American diet. Real food that nourishes the body, restores health, fuels energy, and builds strength. National health crisis. And President Trump is mobilizing government to ensure families across America have greater access to these healthy foods. In the past 12 months, inflation has slowed and wages have risen for the first time in 5 years. Under President Trump's leadership, prices for everyday staples are declining and more help is on the way. Recent data show that fruits, vegetables, dairy, and proteins, including eggs, pork, and ground beef, are becoming even more affordable every day for our American people. American households enjoy the most affordable and abundant food in the world, and today's release only reinforces that reality. A healthy meal is within reach for all American families. These new dietary guidelines are a framework which is meant to be customized to meet the needs, the preferences, and the financial status of all American families.
You know that I'm glad to hear that. If you listen closely to what she's saying, all the right words are being said. But I'll go back to earlier in my show where I talked about corn, peanuts, soybeans, cotton. Right now, our farmers in the United States are laser focused on commodities. Many of these commodities that we grow, we sell around the world. They are actually taken from the real product to something else, to oils, whatever it is. But they don't end up in the true form as something that Americans are actually eating. So I look forward to, I wish we could get Secretary Rollins here on the show, because I look forward to asking her. That's a great idea, but how are we going to get our farmers converted over that we're actually producing fruits and vegetables at a large scale that we can actually feed America? I understand and support 100% the farmers market, but again, that is a small niche market. What she's talking about, at least what I think she's talking about, is producing enough food that we can actually feed the United States. One of the things that if you ever get a chance to look at that chart, they actually flipped it upside down. And when she starts talking about protein, if you look, steaks are up there at the top. So I guess we're going to start selling more steaks here in the States from the United States versus Argentina. But at the end of the day, I'm glad to hear this. We got to see how it's going to play out. We got to figure out, is it talk, or actually are we going to do something about it? And I'm still, like I said, I put out there, I want to see, and I need to probably talk to our Secretary of Agriculture here in Georgia, but I need to see how we're going to go from what we're currently doing when we're making all these commodities and trying to sell to China and everybody else. How are we going to flip that over and then say, okay, our market is feeding America? And the farmers, we already feed America, but at the end of the day, I think what she's saying, we're going to actually try to do it even more. So more to come on that. What I will say this week is the ag community also made a major announcement, is that now they have 5 priorities. I think if you've been in agriculture for quite some time, you will understand that these priorities have kind of already been out there. I think we're just trying to reframe them, which is fine. But let's take a little time and hear what the priorities are. I think when you listen to these priorities and then look at my stool, you'll see that all of those priorities still fit inside our stool that we have on, that this show is built on. Okay, can you play the video that talks about the 5 priorities, please?
We'll focus on 5 pillars. Those 5 pillars will be boosting farm profitability, expanding markets and new uses for U.S. ag products, protecting agriculture from invasive pests and diseases, and promoting soil health and long-term land productivity while improving human health through precision nutrition and food quality. Secretary of Ag, Rollins, said the goal is to deliver practical research that reduces input costs, increases efficiency, opens new export markets, and strengthens bio-based biofuel demand. However, some questions remain, particularly around her comments on volatility and farm profitability, which has been heightened in recent years by trade disruptions with China and discussions around increased beef imports. Still, the administration says the focus on moving 2026 is improving stability and those long-term profitability figures for U.S. agriculture.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very important that we watch these new 5 pillars closely. Like I said, if you listen closely, many of these things we've already been doing. I think we need to keep our eyeball on China. I'm not 100% sure, are they really buying the soybeans that they actually agreed to? And then if they are, they're doing it very slow. And then even if they buy everything they agreed to, I think everybody has came to the belief that is only half of what they bought last year. So our soybean farmers are still in the hurt locker. We pray to God that we get this thing figured out, because I'm really concerned that many of our farmers are going to be bankrupt. They're not going to be able to go to the banks and get another loan to be able to operate next year. So we'll watch very closely on this. But like I said, I would love to get our Secretary of Agriculture here from the great state of Georgia, and then also Secretary Rollins on the show so she can talk directly to our farmers. I think it's important because we got a lot of variables going on here in Georgia and really also across the entire United States. But again, we're up here in Northwest Georgia, and we're just trying to bring information to everybody, farmers here in Georgia. But now, even though we're here in Georgia, we are affected by other things. And like I said, I'm in the cattle business. My guest is also in the cattle business. When we sell our cows, we have no idea where they actually go. Unless you're doing farm to table, after you sell them at the sale barn or private treater or however that cow is leaving your farm, that cow gets into a program and potentially goes to 4 and 5 other places. And just so happened right over the Christmas holidays, Tyson decided to shut down a plant. And the only reason I want to show this today is, I don't know if it affects us here in Northwest Georgia. However, this is what happens when you're a small town and your major industry shuts down. Like I mentioned earlier, where I'm from, Blakely, Georgia, the major industry is shut down, which is the paper mill, and the hurt and the injuries that's actually out there. So play this video and we'll move to our guests.
Because they were heartbroken. They don't want to go anywhere. This is their home.
The Tyson plant gave us notice of a layoff procedure warn notice over a week ago. They'll be closing their facility as of January 20th, impacting 3,200 individuals for the community of Lexington. The general mood of the individuals coming in for our services, of course, is anxiety. What do I do next? Will I have a job? Where do I go? And what do I do from here? Tyson workers make up about 3,200 of the population of 11,000 of Lexington. And so they have a great impact upon the culture, schools, and everything that a community is comprised of.
We just hardworking people. What we do is go to work, come to church. That's all we do here.
These plants have been underutilized, and we have a shortage of cattle out there in the U.S., and because of that, very vulnerable that somebody might shut down. We have a very strong community in Lexington that really is close-knit and very accepting of the packing industry as well as all industries.
Yeah, that is real world. That's very, it tugs at your heart. I feel very sorry for those people there in Lexington. The reason why I wanted to show you that is I am truly concerned that as the cattle business right now, the herd is the smallest it's been in the last 50 years. I potentially could have more and more effect on places like that where the processing plants are at. And then it could have effect on us right here in Northwest Georgia, in Georgia, when it comes to selling our product, our cattle, because If those places start shutting down, then it comes back up the chain, and the next thing you know, in order for me to go to the cell barn, it could be 100 miles drive or something. So I just want to make sure that we stand up to date, which currently is going on in the industry. And like those guys said, 3,200 people will lose their job in January. I think they said January 20th. And the day is January 9th. Could you imagine that living in a small town and the majority of the people work at a particular plant, and then all of a sudden that plant's gone? How in the hell do you find a job if everybody's looking for a job at the same time and perhaps don't have the means to drive 30, 40, 60, maybe 100 miles for another job? So we'll follow that closely and see how it plays out. But now I want to pivot just a little bit and actually talk to my guest. My guest is Yao. He is a cattle rancher here in Northwest Georgia. Yao, are you there? How you doing?
Thank you for bringing me on the show today. I'm doing well.
Excellent.
We're usually up too early.
Yep. You know, in the world of agriculture, we don't get to lay in the bed. For Truth in Lending, Yao and I live in the same county. We're both part of the Polk County Cattlemen Association. We're both part of the Georgia Cattlemen Association. So we get a chance to learn from each other, but we also get the chance to learn from other fellow farmers that have been in the game a little bit longer than us. But one of the things that him and I were talking about yesterday or a few days ago out on his farm is to kind of tell his story, because his story is very unique. But then on top of that, to go further into our conversation and tell the story of how farmers, in order for us to make it, farmers actually work together to get things done. So with that, Yao, can you tell us kind of your background and then tell us a little bit about your farm, Back to Eden?
Yes. Thank you once again. Yao Ajapong. I was born in Washington, D.C. My parents are from West Africa, Ghana. Lived in Maryland, D.C. area until I was about 17, then ended up moving to Springfield, Missouri. So I lived in the Midwest for several years, went to a small university there. And then in 2001, I moved to Los Angeles, California to pursue a master's degree in divinity. Was out there for been out there for 20 plus years. And during that particular time period, I was working in the nonprofit space. So I was a project manager, and most of my project was over on the continent of Africa. And through that process, I began to see a bridge that needed to be filled. And we started the Shawn Foundation. And our foundation focused in on what was the original intent, right? Because our world is just kind of chaotic. So we were thinking, how do you get back to the way things were originally created? And with my partner, Dr. Laura Gordon, we went to school together. We began to talk through these concepts a little bit more. And through a myriad of different things, we came to the conclusion that I think we need to get back to the earth, get back to the original. And that's where Back to Eden was birthed, and started the farm in 2023.
2023. And I think I met y'all guys in 2023. I was just getting home from Israel for my last military assignment. And can you tell us a little bit about your farm? And when you say Back to Eden, do you actually put fertilizer and all the chemicals out there? What does that mean when you say Back to Eden?
Yeah, so Back to Eden is the concept of, going back to the book of Genesis, with our background in Christianity, was no pesticides, no herbicides, naturally moving with the orders that just the environment and nature itself. So we're a regenerative farm. So the organic regenerative, we kind of are in the middle there, because organic focuses more on the herbicide, pesticides, which we don't do. We actually allowed the land to rest for a whole year and just kind of reset the orders, because the previous farmers were using a lot of those chemicals. So we wanted to kind of reset the order and then work with the environment and get the soil health back to, optimum use.
So you now are here on the ground. Was out in California. Now you're here in Northwest Georgia, Great Polk County. I think you considered Cedartown, and now you got a farm up and running.
Yeah.
And when you look at your farm, and I know you're raising cattle over there, but for our audience, how would you? Are you a cow calf operation? Or are you farm to table? What niche are you trying to get at?
We are a cow calf operation, and I want to point out something that you said earlier about community, right? We could not have done it without you and other farmers within the Northwest Polk County area. Coming out of the background I came from in the nonprofit and the entertainment space, and then coming into farming, which was something that I did not have in my purview.
Wait, y'all. What you saying? Are you trying to tell the audience is that you bought a farm and started a farm, but you had never been a farmer before?
Never. I'm a city guy, so I had to think about the little things. Just getting out there and worrying about, the critters and different things. I had to really focus myself. And I learned that practice when I was in the nonprofit space, when I would have to go to certain villages in Sudan or something. I had to just mentally focus myself like, okay, come on, you're a grown man. Don't be afraid. Like, get out there and make it happen. So that process was quite the journey, and it's been exciting. I wouldn't change it for the world. Being out there in nature and connecting with my cows and my dogs that are wild running, and it's been a great journey and learning. And that community support is just so imperative. We were doing our AI. We're in our AI season now, and just to see you running through the field and like, trying to stop my cows from literally running for the hills. So it's been a great journey so far.
Well, I would tell you, y'all, and tell our audience is that I think when it comes to farming, when it comes to cattle producing, when it comes to anything of farming, you don't have to be like me, where I was born and raised on a farm, got a lot of experience. My degree is in agriculture, all those kind of things. That's okay, but you could come from a completely different walk of life, and the farming community because farmers are in a small circle that says, hey, even if you don't really know what you're doing, farmers will come over to your farm, slow down, and actually teach you. And oh, by the way, all of this is free. Nobody's charging you like they do in the city, a consultant fee or any of those things. It is 100%. Hey, this is how you feed your cattle. This is how you set up your catch pen. This is how the Cattlemen Association can help you with a catch shoot. All of these things, I just want to convey to our audience is they're actually talking to a farmer that actually wrote a paper that talked about Back to Eden. And now that paper is real world, real life happening on the farm. And what I can say to the audience is, yes, just this past Sunday afternoon, we were at Yao's house. Our friend Dunn Westlake was with us, but we was at Dunn's house getting some of his cows started on the AI process so that they would be having calves 9 months from now. And if I'm not mistaken, Sunday afternoon, because it's a time, it's amount of days versus also time, based on what we did last Sunday, this Sunday, no matter what we're doing in our lives, and we're doing a lot of things in our lives, we will be at your farm because you are a fellow farmer and fellow friend at 3 o'clock to start that next phase. And then I think Monday or Tuesday, whatever our vet said is supposed to be, we will be at your farm again to ensure that you actually have calves this time next year. And the cool thing is that Don, the guy that kind of showing us both how to do it, he allows us to do it so that in future years, we'll be able to stand on our own 2 feet and kind of go from there. So let me just change the conversation. That means your farm is up and running.
Yes.
I think you put up brand new fencing. you went through the NRCS or some kind of program. Can you kind of tell us about that program so other farmers will better understand it, especially farmers like you that maybe wasn't in farming? Can you kind of talk us through that process?
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, the support is just tremendous. I love this community. And in 24, we got a part of, we connected with NRCS and they gave us the equip package, right, to help us build the infrastructure so that we had the proper arrangements to be able to do rotational grazing, to do our cross fencing, like you mentioned, and I'm sure we'll be out there helping you in one way or another in the coming days with your fencing. And they were supportive. And our local rep here, Jennifer, she's been awesome and very supportive in what we're doing here. So we were able to set in the water troughs and throughout our pastures, the cross fencing. And now we're actually in another part of our partnership with NRCS is the CSP, which is a conservation stewardship program. So because as we're regenerative, we're getting the soil health up, reseeding the grass, and all of these different practices that are just been a great journey. And I can officially say that I am a farmer. I was afraid to say that before because I felt like I wasn't equipped, but over these past couple of years, working with you, working with Don and some of the other guys, Rick, it's been just a tremendous experience. And we're very grateful. Me and my business partner, Dr. Laura Gordon, it's been awesome.
Yeah, I'm so happy for y'all guys because is usually the people that are in farming came from a farming background and they potentially even had generations that were on the farm and that kid kind of just kept it going. But y'all guys, like me, went out on a dream and actually purchased your land. That land is not cheap. And now you actually have built all the infrastructure to actually support your dream. When just for people understand, when you start talking about those waterers, that means that you actually had somebody come in and put water pipe underground so it doesn't freeze, and then it comes up to the water. So your cows, no matter how cold it gets, they actually got fresh water all the time. And then on top of that, if I remember correctly at your farm, because you talked about me running around out there, I had to run around. He has a pond on his farm that because we want to make sure that we keep the water nice and clean, is a fence completely around it that the cows cannot get into that particular pond. So these are some of the practices that y'all and farmers are putting in place to ensure that the product that you receive is clean, has been raised the right way, and kind of go from there. So with that, y'all, if I'm not mistaken, you have made another step that I think is awesome on your farm. Is now you're moving into from farm to table. And if people doesn't know what that means, can you explain what that farm to table actually mean and how you're doing it?
Yeah, we are now expanding ourselves with dealing directly with customers, right? So they can order on our website. We're totally grass-fed, organic, pesticide, herbicide-free. And I also work with other farmers in the area, such as Shawn and some other farmers that are walking in that regenerative path. And every time I see Shawn do something that's regenerative, I'm like, back to eating. Moving back. You're getting back to the original orders. I love it. And it's accepting, because no matter where you are in your process, you can start making steps toward being more in a regenerative space. So there's no judgments. We're all coming from different walks of life. And yeah, you can go to the website, order meat. And obviously there's a waiting list, but we will definitely connect with you. And if our farm can't do it, we can connect you with other farmers within our community, our coalition, that can also serve. So yeah, we are excited about this process. Going to the butcher, go to a great butcher who has humane practices. That was its own process that's USDA inspected. The USDA inspection office is actually on their facility. So you're making sure that your stuff is being handled properly all the way through from the field to your table.
I think that's important. And for our audience, if they look right there on the website, That is, I mean, look right on the screen. We actually have your website up for them. I encourage them to go out and check you out, and look what you have to sell. I will also, because we have thousands and thousands and thousands of people look at this podcast. I want to preface that is that if you go to the website and it says we don't have cows available for you now, don't just say, well, I'm never going to come back. It takes time to scale up, and what Yao talked about under his leadership, I got to give him credit. Under his leadership, he has reached out to farms like mine and others that are in the area that are, I would say, I am a pure cow calf operation. I produce high quality meat to basically sell to other farmers so that they can have very good genetics on their farm. However, because Yao and his team has set this thing up, if he would ever get in a tight, and I got a steer is a bull calf that has been castrated. But if I have a steer that is available to go to the market, when I say the market, I'm talking about the sale barn, because we are raising our cattle the same way and following the same practices. He may call me and say, Shawn, I got customers that are looking for a half a cow or whatever. Can we purchase a cow from you and put that cow into the program? And because we're all following, our farms are named and philosophies may be different, but if you actually look at the way we actually raise our animals, we all are doing it in a humane way. I'm going to try to catch my staff behind the scenes a little bit off guard. It's a picture of me standing out in the picture with my cow, what we call TT. Don't need to play the video, but if we have the picture of me just standing there behind her or with her, that I think that will tell people how we're actually raising our animals. We're not raising any pets. These are not cats and dogs, but our animals are not scared of us. They're not living a stressed life or any of those kind of things. So I'm a see, can my staff, before you and I finish talking, can they get that picture up? And I'm going to go over here to the private chat, and they'll probably tell me, Shawn, stop doing that. Now you're going to make us work. But with that being said, if I'm not mistaken, you just took a cow to the market. Can you walk the people through that process? Does it happen in like 2 or 3 days and you get the meat back, or how does that process work?
Well, before I say that, real quick, I want to say I've been on your farm several times, and the relationship you have with your cows, I'm somewhat envious, and that is something that I'm looking forward to. They're coming up to me and licking me, and I'm like, yo, this is a cow or a dog, like you said. They're not pets, but you have such a great connection with them. To answer your question, once an order comes in, there is a process. There's a time frame through which we have to, connect with you and figure out what you're desiring. Is a half, whole, and then we have to talk to the butcher, make sure we get on his schedule. And then there's a 2-week sort of process where he's getting the processing of the cow. So he lets it hang for like 2 weeks, and then he makes the cuts based on what you desire. And then, you go to the butcher and you pick up your order. So that takes about a good 2 to 3 weeks, depending. But it is not overnight. Obviously, you're not dealing with any of the third parties. You're dealing directly with the farmer, with the butcher. So there is a process and there is time because he's working with so many other farms as well. But if we don't get to you directly, we will get to you, and it'll be worth it to know that you're eating clean meat. Yeah,
you're eating very good meat. And what I like about what you're doing, Yao, and even what I'm doing here on the farm, and what I see many other farmers in this region doing, is every last one of our farms. Oh, the staff pulled it off. That's me. That cow, you don't supposed to name them, but that cow is named TT. That picture right there is me just standing out in the farm, and somebody wanted to take a picture of me out on the farm, and TT out of nowhere just walked up into the picture and said, hey, if you're going to take a picture, I got to be in the picture myself. So, and she should be having a baby hopefully when I walk out here this morning, she should have a calf on the ground. And if so, we'll take a picture of that. And I think she's going to be, her mother is outstanding. I think she's going to be outstanding. But at the end of the day, if you treat your animals right, they will be no stress. And if they have no stress, then the product that they're producing that ultimately becomes your steaks or whatever you want, hamburger, whatever, is going to taste better, because that cow was never being stressed out or felt like somebody was out to get them. So again, staff, great. Thank you. Let's go back to y'all now. We'll finish this conversation. But what I was going to actually say is each one of our farms, and I think this is very important, each one of our farms, what makes the small farmers or the cattle producers, most of us, different is that if you buy beef from us, then you can come to the farm, just call and say, hey, I want to come by the farm and see how y'all guys do it. I think that is the most precious piece when you start talking farm to table, is not only can you say, okay, I know where my beef or my protein is coming from, but I can actually drive there, put on some boots, if you know what I'm talking about, put on some boots and walk right out in the pasture and actually see the cow or cows that you will be purchasing within the next year to 6 years, 6 months, whatever it's going to be. And I think that when you're sitting at the table and you're eating a steak and it tastes awesome, to be able to truly know that, wait a minute, this steak did not come from Argentina. This steak came right here from Polk County, right here from Northwest Georgia, right here from Georgia, right here from the United States. And I think that is priceless. And then on top of that, you're supporting a farmer that's actually out there doing it in the sunlight when it's super hot, when it's raining, when it's snow, when everybody else is snuggled up in the house. The farmer's out there checking on the animals, because guess what? Those animals are the lifeblood of our operation. So y'all, as we close out, what other information do you want to give to our viewers right now? When I look at the thing, and I'm not 100% sure, we've been talking for roughly about 48 minutes, and right now, y'all, is roughly 1,000 people looking at you. Now, guess what? Let me just say this. 1,000 people. Please don't go to y'all talking about you want to buy a cow. Y'all does not have 1,000 cows over there. Okay. So y'all, I'm just trying to help you out, because we have seen when this thing goes to YouTube and all these other things later on, the next thing you know, your website is blowed up and you got more requests than you actually got cows. So the floor is over to you, y'all.
Yeah. Please do come, though. It may take some time, but at least you're getting clean food. Right now, with the way our country is operating, some of the food sources are questionable, right? But at least, as Shawn mentioned, when you come out to the farm or when you're dealing with the local farmer, you know that you're getting quality meat, which is important with this whole cyclical nature that we talk about with Back to Eden, right? It's from the soil back through to the human being, from dust to dust. But it's the process of giving the local farmer the ability to continue to serve their community. We want to serve our community, giving them the food that is going to nourish them and their family, and to know that we're doing it in a equitable and in a ethical way that is good for the environment as well as for the people. So I would just say, controlling those food deserts and answering those questions, we must take the steps ourselves. And that's what we're doing here at Back to Eden Farms, to make sure we make sustainable food sources for our community and ultimately for our country.
Well, y'all, I want to personally thank you for everything that you're currently doing on your farm. But I also want to step all the way back and thank you for having the courage to come outside of your comfort zone and move into this space called farming. And that's what I want to encourage everybody across the nation. You don't have to get into it at our level. You can come into it at a small level. I don't care if you just plant a garden behind the house or whatever, but fresh food, like Secretary Rollins, I agree with her. Fresh food is the key. like I said earlier in this show, I'm just not 100% sure how we going to convert all our farmers from commodities that we sell overseas to actually being able to feed all the people, because most farms are, this average age of the farmer is 59, 60 years old. And most farmers, it's hard for you to get into it because it's very expensive. And then on top of that, most farmers, when it's in the beef industry, most of our farms are no more than about 40 head of cattle. So what right now we have 1,220, my goodness, we have 1,000 plus people that are watching us right now. So if every last one of these people would ask for a cow right now, between my farm, Rick's farm, Don's farm, and your farm, we don't have 1,000 head of cattle. And some of those farms I actually named off are considered some very big farms. So we got a lot of work to go to get farm to table at the exact level, and doing it in a humane way to kind of go from there. So, hey, y'all, I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
I want to tell our audience, if you see us around Northwest Georgia, you see us here in Polk County, you see us in Rockmart or Cedartown, please stop us, because we just regular everyday guys. And today, like I said at the early part of the show, as soon as we get off this show, I'm doing two things. I'm going outside to check my cows and see that we have some more calves, and I hope we do. And then after we do that, I'm going up to Tractor Supply. We only got one Tractor Supply. I'm going to Tractor Supply because I got to buy, I think, about 8-9 gates, because starting Sunday afternoon, because it's supposed to be raining today and raining Saturday, but starting Sunday afternoon, so Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, potentially even Wednesday, we're going to be putting up cross fencing. And I know people like yourself and others are going to come and help me out. So I say thank you to that off the bat. But when we do these things, we all learn from each other. So again, y'all, thank you to our audience. We look forward to this show going on to where people can look at it later on today. And I ask people, reach out to y'all and back to Eden and order some beef and let's make him very profitable, because it's not every day that you see somebody move to Georgia from California. I want to make sure everybody understands this. Move to Georgia to California and want to start a farm. Yao is not in Atlanta, Georgia. He's out here in the rural community with us and working hard every day. So again, thank you. Have a great day. Thanks, y'all. And oh, by the way, guess what? The way we end the show, the cup is empty. As you can see, I always pour a little bit out on my dirty desk, but it's done. Hey, guys, this is Voices from the Dirt Road. Thank you. I think episode 15 might have been our best show. So please watch it. Have a great day. Bye-bye.